Welcome to this tutorial about the use of the impact reporting function. Just a little note about impact reporting. Impact reporting is what you will use when you have the executive office indicate that they need to know the impacts of any type of budget reductions that you plan to make to meet budget targets because there is not enough funding for all the things that you would like to do within your budget. This particular use of this particular function is not always mandatory. Usually the executive office will let you know specifically that they would like you to use this function. Even if the executive office does not require that you use this function, it's always a great idea, and it's a great budget planning tool that you can use internally, which is especially helpful if you are a department that's large with multiple divisions that have multiple budgets within the department, and that you have upper level management that have to make decisions about what budget requests are funded from the different divisions and which ones are not. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. To navigate to the impact reporting function, we'll go to, of course, base menu. You'll go to the impact reporting menu, which you can access either here or by expanding this menu and going here. And you have a couple of options within this impact reporting menu. You've got create an impact ID, which is where you will go to actually create each of your impacts. You have the impact detail, which you will impact the detail about the different appropriations that are impacted by your cut. So say for instance, you are reducing your budget by $1 million, and one of the things that you're going to reduce is services that you provide from a satellite office. Your impact detail is going to include the salary and benefit information for the positions that you plan to lay off. It may be services and supplies that you will now have a savings in because you no longer have that satellite office open. It may be revenue that you will no longer generate because you no longer have that satellite office open, and you expect that those who go to that office may go with a different option that's closer to home, and it's things of that nature. Then we have the impact summary, which will give you, which will summarize the impact information by impact ID. We also have a function that lets you set your impact priorities, and basically you assign which impacts are more likely to happen, which ones are less likely to happen, which ones will happen before others. So for instance, if you've got one impact that has to do with that satellite office that we talked about before, and you have another impact to reducing your budget that includes providing training services to small businesses within your location, and you know that keeping that satellite office is something that you'd rather have than actually having the training for the small businesses, you'll set the priority based on that. So let's go ahead and we're going to create an impact ID. If you have already created some, you will be able to look for existing values, and I'll show you that now because I have already created, I believe, 2 impacts. So notice I'm not putting the impact ID in, I'm not putting any fund depth ID information in. I'm going to click search, and I already have 2 impacts that are showing here. But for demonstration purposes, I want to show you how to add a new impact ID. So I'm going to click add a new value. I'm going to call this impact ID 3. I'm going to select, by using that lookup menu, the 10,000 item. And again, it's always better to go into the drop-down menu because our search menu, use the search tool, because you ensure that you're only using a fund depth ID combo that's actually active within the system. We'll click add. And then for program description, I'll kind of tell you what each of these mean. Program description is usually should be a concise description of what program or service will be affected in the impact report. One example that I used before was the closure of a satellite office, so you may say closure of satellite office in Blythe. You want to use as few words as possible, but you want to give the Board of Supervisors a sense of what will be eliminated if additional general fund support is not allocated. In impact location, you could use an address, but that's not as important as communicating the town or city. So let's say for test 3, we'll say Riverside, West Riverside. No, just Riverside. Layoffs is the number of layoffs you expect as a result of this particular item not being fully funded. For these purposes, we'll say 5. In alternate location, you'll want to say that in the event that the impact being reported is the termination of a particular county service, you'll want to put what the nearest alternative location would be. So if you're saying that the satellite office in Blythe will be closed, and the nearest alternative is for constituents to drive to Indio, you'll want to put that there. So let's say here, Moreno Valley, just for purposes. And that'll give the board kind of an idea on what constituents or those who use that county service will need to go to get those services. There may be situations where there is no alternative and you'll just put no alternate location, or that it may not even be something that's within the county of Riverside, to which you may say something like county of San Bernardino or wherever they would go to get that alternate service, maybe a private vendor. For supervisory districts, you'll want to check mark any of the districts that will be impacted. For this particular one, we'll say that they all will be. And then in the impact narrative, you want to provide the estimated number of constituents that might be affected. In this particular narrative, you also want to talk about any efforts that you're making to reduce the impact of this particular item reduction on constituents, or any efforts that you've made in the past and that have resulted in you now needing to do a more significant reduction. You want to make sure that you put in any information that's pertinent to the impact being reported. So we're just going to put test narrative in the interest of time. Then we're going to go ahead and click save. And notice over here it says saved. Now we're going to go to impact detail. Now here you're either going to add a new value, or if it's an existing value that you already have, you can do a search. So as you see here, I've done business unit and by this particular fund ID, and here's all of the impacts that are already there. But we just completed 3 and we want to add specifics for impact number 3. So we'll use the requested scenario. Again, you can use any scenario that you want, as long as it's not recommended final, the recommended or final scenarios, which those are only available once you submit your budget to the executive office. We're going to go with the depth ID, which is 3 for what we are doing for this demonstration. And then you'll want to select what is the appropriation or revenue type that is impacted for this detail. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with salaries and benefits, because in the previous screen I indicated there would be 5 layoffs. I'm going to click add, and it takes me to this detailed screen that's specific to salaries and benefits. I'll go ahead and select the information here. Number of positions is 5. Total amount associated with those positions, we'll say 1 million, and then we'll say total benefits is 500,000. We click save, and then we go back to impact detail, just so that I can show you what this looks like. Let's go to find an existing value. So we'll select agriculture commissioner. I will click in, let's try impact 2. And notice here, this is for services and supplies that I previously entered, but notice it gives you the account option where you can use the lookup menu to actually select the actual account, and you'll need to do this when you're entering in impacts, and then there's the amount. I'm going to return to search. Okay, so now that I have these impacts entered in, let's say I want to get a summary to make sure that I have collected all the impacts, entered in all the impacts that I need. So I click on impact summary because I did it directly. Right now it's specific for impact ID 2. This is requested information. It gives me a summary of everything that is happening for that particular impact. Now if we start fresh, do this again, do add commissioner, click search. Again, all these are listed. We can go to any of these and take a look at what the summary is for everything that we've entered. If we had multiple appropriations, it would list them all for us. Okay. So now let's say we want to go ahead and we want to set the priorities. We want to assign what we will cut first, or what will be the items that are higher priority than others. So for right now we have 2 and 1 as a setting. We haven't ranked 3. Let's say that we know that the weights review has the highest priority with these 2 following. We'll click save. And now we've set the priority on these different impacts so that when those that are reviewing this look at it, they know which ones you will implement first as far as reductions and which ones will be implemented last. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to print a report. So we're going to go to department reports, and you've got a couple options here. You can either print an impact report by the department, which will print out all of your department impacts as well as the details, or you can do a department impact summary by priority, and that will just give you a list of each of the items, impact items, by priority. So I'm going to go ahead and run the department impact report. I'm going to add a new value. Now you can go by business unit, you can go by depth ID, or you can go by impact item. Business unit would be for your entire department. Depth ID would be a specific fund department ID combo within your department. And impact item would be if you just wanted to print out all the information for your first impact. So we're going to go by business unit because we want all of the Ag Commissioner reports to impact reports to be reported, and then we're going to go with requested scenario. Click run, click OK. Now there's 2 ways that you can access reports. You can either go to the process monitor, which will allow you to see where the process is for completing the report, and once it's complete, successfully posted, you'll be able to access it. Or you can go to report manager, which can be accessed either here or under report tools, and under report manager you can access it there. I'm going to show you process monitor for purposes of this demonstration so you can see what it looks like. Notice that report is successfully posted. You would go to details, view trace log, log trace. You're going to want to select the one that has PDF at the end, and that will actually get you a report. So right now it's saying that no records were found for this particular item. Let's go back to reporting tools. And we go to report manager. And if we look at, notice here, agricultural commissioner, this information is here. It provides you with the depth ID, districts that are impacted, and all the information that we entered in. Now the probable reason for why it did not work before is that we entered in the incorrect information when we were actually running the report. And just to show that, I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So departments, department reports, department impact report. Let's go back to find existing value, search. Let's go with, I believe it was impact report test 1. Agricultural Commissioner, there we have that. I'm going to click Run again. And okay. Process Monitor. Right now it's being queued, but it should show up shortly. Let's go ahead and let's also run the Department Impact Summary by priority. So I'm going to add a new value. Add that. Notice on this one, you can select your business unit from the lookup menu. Budget period, you can either select a specific fund depth ID combo, or you can put percentage to enter everything that's there for Ag Commissioner, and you'll want to make sure that you're selecting the correct scenario. Let's go ahead and select this. Click Run. Okay. Now let's go look at Process Monitor. Notice the report that we ran before is successfully posted. The current one that we have run is queued, so I'm going to go to Details. View Log Trace, and let's hope that this is right now, so PDF, and there you go. And notice that that impacts for this particular Agricultural Commissioner is correct, all three. Let's wait a couple of minutes for the other one to show. Sometimes the system can be a little slow, especially if you click too much. Okay, and then let's go to Reporting Tools, Report Manager, Administration. And there's the Department Impact Sum by priority. Notice it's posted. And there we are. We have the summary of everything there. Now I know in this particular tutorial, we've gone through you saw a couple of errors. These are things that would likely happen as you're also going through this process. Hopefully this will help you troubleshoot any problems that you may have run into. In any case, this concludes the tutorial for using the impact reporting